Welcome, friends, to the April 2024 Great British Mickey Waffle podcast. A bit of podcasting positivity with some helpful planning tips for your future trip, hopefully providing inspiration for you to go and book a trip, or maybe just the ability to lose yourself once again in a chat about a magical place we all love and know so much. Right, welcome. I'm John, and this month you are joined with some of my fellow wafflers, all recovering, no doubt, from the excesses of too much chocolate over Easter weekend and things like that. So it's a big welcome to Ben. Hiya, Ben.
Hello. I'm good. How are you, John?
I'm all right. It's April. There you go.
Yeah.
We're sort of taking the months off.
How much chocolate do you have left over? How much chocolate do you have left over?
I've loads. I don't do chocolate that great. I must admit, it's on that list.
We have a habit.
Yeah,
we have a habit of going to the shops on Bank on Easter Monday and seeing if anything's discounted.
I like. There you go. See,
I'm not paying full price for an Easter egg.
My influence on you continues. You see, that's it. You know.
Yeah.
And welcome to Becca.
Hello. I hate to tell you this, John, but we've been doing that for about 10 years, long before we knew you.
Yeah, but you see, I get slagged off for being frugal. You see, that's it. I get into trouble for being frugal. You see, you just keep it all to yourself.
I just like cheap chocolate.
Yeah, doesn't everyone?
Any chocolate, to be fair.
And we've got Robin with us as well. Hi, Robin.
Hiya. John, I'm with you. I'm not a massive chocolate lover.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's just sort of...
Yeah, people think I'm strange.
I just use it as an excuse for people to buy you flowers for Easter. That'll be about it, you know.
Oh no!
No,
I've been on.
I'll set your hay fever up as well, like, you
know. No, I do love a flower, but I've definitely been on that trick since I was a child. Maybe that's why I decided I didn't like chocolate that much, because then I got a present instead of an Easter egg.
Hey, there you
Maybe.
Go. Clever thinking. And we've got Claire. Hi, Claire.
Hi, is everyone okay?
It's April. There we go.
I know. My birthday month.
That was subtle, wasn't it? Yeah.
I don't do subtle.
As a brick. Yeah, there we go.
Is this a reminder? Who's forgotten Claire's card?
Exactly.
No, I'm just thinking it's April, which means that Robin and I are both going to be in Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I was going to say that because actually I was about to say, you know, some people actually haven't unpacked the cases from the last time they went. So, you know, it's,
I actually don't know what you mean.
Yeah. You have two sets of clothing, surely. You have some in a suitcase ready just to go and some that you wear every other time.
No, I am type A. I have to unpack everything the moment I get home and it all goes away because it has to. But I do then start the pile again, the packing pile.
I have taken everything out, washed it, ironed it, and then put it back in the case ready for the next trip. Yeah. Particularly if I'm going when the weather is different to at home.
Yeah. That's the thing. When you go when it's cold back here, you don't really need it when you're at home. So yeah, just as easy.
Space in the
way. Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what, we've got so much to talk about in this show. Shall we get it started? And actually, we'll begin with that new feature about famous Imagineers in the history of Walt Disney World. And actually, what I would say is a massive thank you to so many people who are listen every month, but your responses to the show about Joe Rody and then the focus we had last month about Tony Baxter. Thank you for getting in touch. It's really appreciated. And this month, Peter is going to take us on the Imagineering journey of the imperious Harper Goff. Take it away, Peter.
Ralph Harper Goff was born on March 16, 1911, and he died on March 3, 1993. To say he had an interesting career path would be an understatement. Born in Fort Collins, Colorado, he studied at the Juilliard Art Institute in Los Angeles, but moved to New York. In New York, he worked as an illustrator for magazines such as Collier's, Esquire and National Geographic. He also worked in advertising for the US Army. During the Second World War, this relationship led him to develop a range of camouflage paints for the Army, which were impermanent so could be washed out after use. He also worked for the US Navy, designing confusing silhouettes for warships. After the war, he worked in California, set designing for Warner Brothers, where he worked on some of the best-known films, such as Sergeant York, Charge of the Light Brigade and Captain Blood. He first met Walt Disney at a model-making shop in London, where both men wanted the same train model. Walt finally got the train, but Goff got a job at Disney. Walt asked him to storyboard a true-life adventure short called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But Goff storyboarded a version of the Jules Verne story of the same name, which Walt liked, and it became the first Disney live-action film to be shot in the USA. The film went on to win the Academy Award for Best Design for Goff's work. However, as Goff wasn't a union member, he couldn't accept the award, so one of his team did it for him. Goff is most famous for his work on Disney parks. His fingerprints are all over both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. He worked closely with Walt to develop Main Street and the Jungle Cruise, as well as contributing to several other areas. After working freelance for a while with success on projects like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, he rejoined Wed Enterprises and designed pavilions for the World Showcase. The year he died, he had a window dedicated to him above the Adventureland Bazaar. The window has him as a banjo teacher. When Goff had some spare time, he would play banjo with the Firehouse 5+2, a Dixieland band formed from Disney employees including Ward Kimball on trombone and Frank Thomas on piano. Also that year, Goff was given the ultimate accolade of Disney legend. There was and there will never be another Harper Goff.
Thank you, Peter. Goodness, what an absolutely amazing person, and actually, just what an expansive CV. You know, you look at that list there, and actually to have your own window on Main Street must be the most incredible feeling. And actually, I didn't know about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and to be sort of involved in the actual art direction of that, you can actually begin to see where some of his influences came from as well.
I can see his stamp on Willy Wonka, actually, now that I think about it. Now that I know that he was the one that he had a hand in it, you think, actually, I can understand that. Yeah. And that the window on, well, one of the windows is the goal, isn't it, for any?
Oh, isn't it just? Yeah.
I think
Robin, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I just realised. I just think it's amazing for the family in future generations to go and know that there's a window on Main Street dedicated. This is so sweet.
Yeah, I love those windows and actually always look at them. And I have, I'm sure I've said before, I've got the book, The Windows of Main Street, which covers all the windows in all of the main streets in the world. So you don't actually need to stop and waste your time. Although that's quite nice.
Why wouldn't you?
It's quite nice.
Great thing to do.
But they have got in the book. It's got a page per window, and it explains everything about the person who was.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's cool.
It's quite a good Disney book.
Oh, that is lovely.
That should be a show. We should do a show about Disney books.
Oh yeah.
Because I've got.
I'm going to go Disney windows.
I just thought, yeah.
and Disney windows too.
Pavement and trash cans. Why not windows? But Disney
construction.
Books, Disney books would be a good show to talk about, maybe on a Wednesday, perhaps. I've got a massive shelf full. I bet you guys have too.
Yeah.
One to add to the list. I was just say about Harper Goff. I think it's fascinating when you realise that he actually helped design some of Epcot as well. When you know the layout of World Showcase, and particularly some of the best pavilions in terms of Japan, Italy, and also the United Kingdom. Yeah. So he worked on the layout for those particular pavilions, and there's some of the. I think obviously Italy has changed where they've added Via Napoli and it's expanded backwards, but certainly Japan, that area up by Katsura Grill with the koi ponds and that whole area is stunningly beautiful. And the UK, actually, when you get around the back towards where Winnie the Pooh meet and greet is, and the little
and the bandstand as well, because
the bandstand, all of that area, it's brilliant. Yeah. And he was instrumental in that. So I think he's a bit of a hidden hero.
Yeah,
I think the name is known, but perhaps not known what he did.
How much he's sort of had his hand in. Yeah,
I think what was really interesting is how him and Walt Disney actually first met. And it's maybe one of those just sort of chance meetings that you have with somebody who recognizes each other's artistic leanings, and then suddenly it's that spark towards everything that came after. And you're thinking, what would have happened if these two people had never met and possibly hadn't had an argument or a conversation about a train set? What would have become? It doesn't. It's one of them things it doesn't bear thinking about, because I would quite imagine that these two guys probably sat in an office, probably smoking themselves to half to death at probably one point. But the conversations that they were able to share in the actual development of theme parks, but the development of rides and development of even the films that they're involved in as well. It seems to me that Harper Goff certainly had Walt's ear, and also in some ways Walt actually had his back as well, and was actually prepared to give him more and more responsibility as time went on. And then obviously after Walt's death, to actually be able to see Epcot into fruition. I just wonder if that's maybe something that maybe sparked something within Harper Goff into actually ensuring that Epcot did Walt proud, and actually in a way allowed Walt to, well, he didn't see it to fruition, but actually he saw Walt's dream of what Epcot could have been through to fruition as well.
I think there was also there's also some other Harper Goff little Easter eggs around the park. So particularly in Magic Kingdom and the Jungle Cruise. I'm going to have to look out for this next time. There is a crate in the Jungle Cruise which is has a label on it identifying it contains crocodile-resistant water pants from Goff's brand, and it's identified as being based in the main street of St. Collins, Colorado, which is obviously where it's from. So I'm going to look out for that next time on the Jungle Cruise.
Do you know which section it's in, Claire?
I don't. I'm gonna do some research, and when I find out, I'll let people know.
Yeah, maybe that's a ride we have to do together.
Absolutely.
I think as well, though, this is actually the joy of doing this as actually a series of different sort of Imagineers, because I think certainly for me on my next trip in August, just saying But what it will do, it will change. I hope for anyone listening, you will actually go into the parks and maybe pick up on some of these things that we're talking about, and not just in this show, but in the past two shows, and actually look for that little hidden detail, that little bit of extra detail that perhaps in the past you've maybe just kept walking, or certainly again with what you just said there, Claire, about Jungle Cruise. It encourages anybody to actually look that bit deeper and that little bit more. Most of the things that you think are just there for decoration, they're actually there for a reason. And once you start down that road, it becomes quite addictive. And actually, even just the windows of Main Street itself is worthy of a few hours. And again, because the Wi-Fi in Magic Kingdom has improved so much, you could actually just have your phone and use your phone to try and just influence just what you're looking at, because no longer do you need to take the big massive book with you to flick through. So again, that's maybe something just again for somebody who's never sort of thought about it, but just a different way of enjoying the parks. It's not always just about going and just queuing up for hours and hours to get on a Space Mountain or whatever. The detailing is absolutely something to behold, and I think for anybody, it comes back to that. Just let the magic come to you that little bit by just opening your eyes and soaking it up.
I still think, John, you're going to run to Space Mountain when you're there in August.
No, he's not. John's going to get a coffee and then go and sit on the bench.
Was that the second time you guys?
I give myself sort of goosebumps thinking about the moment, and actually, I can't quite comprehend what will happen. And I think, Claire, you're very close to it. I don't even think I'll be able to hold a cup of coffee. I've already tried to prepare myself for how I will actually feel, because
many things have happened.
Yeah, it's really weird, and I think it will be quite an emotional experience. I think, and not just for myself, but for the whole family. And we'll see how we go, and we'll see. Maybe the second, third, or maybe fourth time as I walk back in again, it might be one of them ones I can actually video it rather than being a blubbering wreck and things like that.
I'd like to just see a video of you walking down Main Street. To be honest.
I think that is another thing, Robin. I'm very aware of everything that we've ever done in the past. I've only ever written about it, and this is a really good opportunity to maybe create some content for some of our Wednesday shows, because actually we do a Wednesday show. Every just in case anyone hasn't caught us on YouTube, 8:30 UK time, and we choose to waffle on a Wednesday about the most amazing range of different subjects, and it is absolutely brilliant. If anyone's listening to this for the first time, by the way, we also have a mid-month show on the 15th of every month, and again we have guests. We talk about a little bit different away from the first of the month show, but you are always welcome to download podcast, YouTube version, and also the Wafflers Wednesday is also available as a podcast every Friday morning. After sometimes we don't quite stick to an hour, but hey, that's what we do.
Depends who's on, John?
I don't think we've ever stuck to an hour.
I think we have twice.
I think
in the 4 years we've been doing it,
it's about an hour.
I take great delight in going over the hour. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
I'm surprised there's not a limit on YouTube. We could set like a timer for an hour that just cuts us off.
Guillotine.
YouTube guillotine for me.
Yeah.
Which cartoon character was it that they used to hook him off with the hook round his neck? I'm trying to remember who that was.
Oh,
it was the era of Hong Kong Phooey, but it wasn't.
It was one of the Hanna-Barbera ones, wasn't it? Oh my word!
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was.
I know the one you mean.
Yeah.
If
anyone does know, let us know in the comments. Just add it to the comments, and by the time we would have found out.
Join us in our lovely.
In fact, Claire's looking it up now.
Our lovely Facebook community, the Wafflers Arms. Send us a message through there, and we will get to you, and eventually, in some cases, but we'll get to you. And actually, it would be really helpful, because that's going to drive me crackers now, I must admit, and that's not fair, because actually we have got one of the most amazing bits to talk about for the rest of this show. Now, I've got to put my hands up, and I'm going to say I'm actually really fortunate to be the presenter of this show this month, and deliberately so, because I'm going to ask all the awkward questions. However, everyone else is going to provide such fruitful answers. I will put in the little precursor that if this show costs you a lot of money in the future, it's not our fault. Right, I'll just put that out there now. Don't blame us, but go and enjoy your holidays. So, this month, our show is brought to you in true Sesame Street styling by the letters D, V, and C. And when most people hear DVC, which is Disney Vacation Club, there is either a kind of shoulder shrug that have no idea about what it is, or a frightened thought that it may cost some dollars and indeed maybe some time, as because that's basically how it started. It was basically like, oh, we'll give you some free fast passes if you come and see the backstage tour and things like that, which I kind of didn't rankle very well with me. Or indeed the fact that actually this is perfect for you, your family, for your future holiday plans, and it becomes something that you can actually take, invest in, use, and it becomes part and parcel of your holiday. And so I just hope what we can actually provide for you, the listener, is maybe to take away some of the mysticism, some of the confusion that any mention of the DVC that brings. And actually, that includes myself, because even after all of my visits there, it's still one of them things that I still think maybe I've missed a massive opportunity and could have actually been using it for a long time prior to now. So I don't know. I don't have any of the answers. So hopefully, Ben, Becca, Robin, you guys have invested, and actually maybe at some point we'll be able to share your ownership journey. But actually, can someone tell me exactly what is DVC? And without no Disney terminology, please. What it actually is DVC? Go on, tell me, guys.
So I think it's
I was going to say, who wants to answer?
I think the simplest way that I always describe it is it's Disney's version of a timeshare.
Absolutely. Anyone who tells you it's not a timeshare is wrong. It is a timeshare.
It's a timeshare.
It even says that on Disney's paperwork that it is a timeshare.
But what does that mean? Because timeshares were cool in the 80s.
Yeah.
And everyone had one in Marbella or Benidorm. But what are they now? What does timeshare mean?
Usually with a timeshare, you buy a property, but it allows you a slot for a week. So you could go away to this particular place for a week every year. That's a more traditional timeshare. So you'd buy a week in October, say in Spain or somewhere, and that would be your place to go every year for the length of your contract.
And you go to the same place each time?
You'd go to the same place every year, usually with a timeshare. There were places you could trade that in and go different places, but Disney does it differently.
I think, to be fair, I think there are some other timeshares. We've moved on from there. I think people who are selling them and learning that people don't want to be stuck to the same week in the same hotel every year. And I think even like Marriott do their version of this. Like they're all doing it the new way, the more fashionable way. And
the Disney way.
The Disney way, basically. The Disney way.
It's like I say, Robin, it's now a points style timeshare. So instead of you having your particular week, you get an allocation of points every year. So you can choose if every point you pay per night depends on where you want to stay. So if you look at Disney, for example, if you want to stay at sort of Saratoga Springs versus Grand Floridian, one's going to cost you more points per night for your trip than the other.
Do we get a prize if we guess which one costs more?
So can you stay at any hotel?
You can stay at any of the deluxe DVC resorts with your points. You can also trade into for RCI to use those points at the moderates and deluxe values or other various hotels around the world. But that's not always the best use of points.
Sorry, go back. Trade it in for what?
It's not RCI anymore.
Is it not RCI anymore? Or whatever it's called now.
You could trade it into a separate company where you can use to other hotels. So you could go to, on that list of things like Hilton, you can use them at a lot of other different resorts. So you're not tied into Disney. But when you actually look at what you get for your stay at a Disney resort, a DVC Villa resort, it's much better value for usage of your points. So it's like I could have, say, 2 weeks worth of points for stay at DVC, or I could probably spend the exact same amount of points on a 3-night cruise. So it's, what would you rather do? I think I'd much rather do the 2-week stay at Disney.
Yeah. It took me a lot, although Simon and I have been members now for 10 years. We had our 10-year anniversary in 2023. I still remember not having a clue how the Disney Vacation Club worked. And someone summed it up for me in one of the original talks, and said, it's like money. The points are like money. You spend them as if you're spending money. If you stay on a weekend, it's going to cost you more money than during the week. If you stay in a Magic Kingdom resort, it's going to cost you more money than it would at Saratoga Springs, a Disney Springs resort. And I found that it was a lot easier to understand. And of course, there's different room types. So some resorts have different views or different preferred and non-preferred areas, or like at Animal Kingdom Lodge, you have a standard view, you have a Savannah view. A Savannah view is going to cost you more points than a standard view. And then we have different sizes. So you have a studio, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom grand villa. And then you have the poly bungalows, the Fort Wilderness new cabins, the cabins at Wilderness Lodge, and they all cost different points. But if you think of it like money, the bigger ones, they cost you more. If you go at Christmas, it's going to cost you more than going in September. That's the sort of the easiest way that it was summed up to me, and it really stuck.
That's quite interesting, that, Robin, because actually, I think certainly from my point of view, if you want to basically get just a hotel room through Disney, or each of those little markers there about different room types and things like that, you can actually see it as being basically a step forward in the cost, the cost bracket for every single different room type view and whatever you want. So that kind of ties in a little bit, even if you were looking at, from my previous experience of just going on holiday and then maybe staying 4 or 5 nights in a vacation club resort, you can actually see how that actually pans out as well. That's a really interesting bit like that.
And DVC, it is a contract. So when a DVC resort opens, it's around 50 years. So if you were to buy a membership at when it opens, you'll get 50 years of points. So yeah,
you'll be able to go there every year, or you'll be able to go there and use those points for 50 years.
So you get an annual allocation for 50 years.
Yeah.
And what you can do is if you decide that, I haven't got enough points for this year, or I'm not going to go every year, you can bank or borrow. So you could go once every 3 years and use up 3 lots of points in 1 year.
But you can only bank for 1 year and borrow for 1 year.
And borrow for a year ahead.
Okay, so the maximum you would ever get is 3 years worth of points. Okay. And I'm going to ask a really strange question, because it's one
such thing.
I don't think there is with this, Claire. I think this is go on. I'm intrigued.
So your contract's for 50 years. That's quite a long time. What happens if you decide you get a bit old and you don't really want to go to Disney anymore, or sadly the inevitable happens and you pass away? What happens to your points?
Wow.
It's like a
pass
house.
them on?
Yeah.
It's like a house. So you can include it in your inheritance. So you can.
Can you gift them to somebody else if you decide you don't want them?
You can to someone else. You can sell them.
Yeah. It is like literally a bit of property that you're selling.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, we own a couple of bricks at Saratoga Springs.
Or what was it? One of the guys told us it was a door handle. No, it was a door handle at one of the rooms at Saratoga Springs.
Okay.
So
that's a mighty expensive door handle, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can stay at Saratoga Springs until 2042, I think. I can't remember.
I think it's later than that.
Might be later.
I think 42
remember now.
That doesn't feel that far away now, 2022.
The original...
2054.
Yeah.
54 for Saratoga Springs.
The original resort was Old Key West, and actually those 50 years will be up in 2042. So
Vero Beach, Beach Club, Boardwalk, Boulder Ridge, Hilton Head, and Old Key West, and yeah.
What year are they? Are they all 42?
They're all
They're
2042.
Are they? Do you know, I had it in my head.
Boulder Ridge never changed when it had, because they added Copper Creek to it.
So just got the two different sections. So Boulder Ridge ends in 42, but Copper Creek, it doesn't end until 68.
Yeah. Okay. Be
Ah.
interesting to see. No one really knows what's going to happen at the end.
I was going to say, what happens is everyone's contract get cancelled and they all go up for sale again.
They get new ones. Do they? Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows what's going to
I
happen?
don't know.
Will they just extend them?
Maybe not yet got to that point, so we'll just have to wait a few more years to work out what Disney are going to do.
So there isn't an actual
yeah.
cut off at the very end of that just says that that's it. Your contract's
Well,
over.
yeah, pretty much.
Written in the contract, you have the date. That is when that is the date it's finished.
Right.
Yeah.
But whether they do anything in between, because there was a period of time where Old Key West had extended. So if you notice in Old Key West, there are two dates. You've got 2042 and 2057.
Yeah, they gave you the option to buy and extend your points, and some people did and some people didn't.
And it's not like if you buy a car on PCP, at the end of it, you can keep the car, or you can pay a balloon payment, and you keep.
Am I keeping my door handle?
You keep that week forevermore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an option, sadly.
To go back to your question though, Claire. What if I get a bit old and think I don't want this anymore? You can sell it. You can choose to sell it yourself, and there are places you can go to sell it. And often it should never be thought of as something to make money. However, often you'll probably sell it for more than you paid for it. So
Really?
It's not an investment opportunity, but as with most things are now more expensive now than what they were a few years ago.
Yeah.
So
you can just decide one day. There are plenty of resale brokers out there that will happily take on the sale for you, and then there's always plenty of people looking to buy resale. So,
and also during that process, sometimes Disney buys it back.
So yeah, sometimes Disney will buy it back from you, repackage it. If they've got people waiting for a particular resort, if the resort's sold out, they might have people waiting. Simon and I were those people one time. We wanted to add on points at the boardwalk. We couldn't find any that we wanted resale. So what Disney sometimes do is they buy a lot back, like they'll buy a big contract, and then like us, we didn't want a huge amount of points. They could sell a bit to us and a bit to someone else. So yeah.
So you now mentioned about resale. I'm gonna kind of jump across a little bit because I know we put some questions into some of our socials as well, and many thanks for those people who do respond. We read it all. We really appreciate your questions, and actually, this for me is actually a whole thing about is it actually better buying resale or going direct to Disney? I have no idea about this, and this is the bit that scares the life out of me because I've been in the parks and you walk past the DVC sort of sales area and you kind of think, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And then you get told, no, wake up to yourself, sunshine. Keep walking. and actually, I've never really looked thoroughly into it. But then, like you say, when you start looking at resale, where does that come? What tell me, guys, where would you go with that?
I personally don't think there's a right answer. It's no for you.
I think the best thing, if anyone is interested in DVC, next time you're in a Disney park, go and do the tour. Get your 3 free fast passes or whatever gift card they're giving you now. I have to admit, it was the least pressure selling thing I've ever been in. Because we've been in one of those ones where we had a timeshare. Was it Marriott? It was Marriott. Yeah. And it was very uncomfortable. Very pushy to a point where they wanted us to sign up for $1 per month just for something, just because they didn't want us to leave. And it wasn't a nice experience. Disney was the complete opposite. And it was like, we went away, had lots of talk about it. Several years later, we then decided it was for us.
Yeah.
But I would.
This is the thing. We had our first tour in 2014 and didn't buy it until 2 years later. So there is never any
space and time
to
kind
sell.
of thing. That's
Yeah.
intriguing.
And the biggest perk of resale is price.
Yeah.
It really is. The reason to go resale over direct, once you've worked out that it is for you, is to work out what perks you lose by going resale. But if I just talk about rough numbers here, so if you go direct with Disney and a resort they're currently selling at the moment, which is still the Riviera, if you want 200 points, which at the Riviera is about 8 days a year, that would cost you $45,850 for your 50 years.
That's a lot of money.
But then that's
$1,000. That's less than $1,000 a year for your 50
for
years.
8 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
for 8 days, you wouldn't get the hotel for that price. Right?
But for Riviera, so resale at Riviera, the total for that would be $27,800 for the same length of time.
So
that's nearly $20,000 difference in price.
Right.
Yeah. But
Riviera does have a slight snag. If you buy resale at Riviera, you can only stay at Riviera and not any other Disney resort.
Well, that's a bit cheeky.
It's part of a new Disney restriction they put on from Riviera, Disneyland Hotel, and any of the new ones. But if you buy resale from that, you will only be able to stay at that, use your points at that resort. But if you bought one of the older resorts, such as Old Key West, you could stay at either.
Yeah, because I don't think we really covered that before, and maybe we should swing back to that in a minute about where you can stay.
Yeah, but an Old Key West, for example, because I know, Claire, this is your favourite resort, for 200 points. So if you bought that direct through Disney, you have to purchase at least 100 points. But let's say we're going for 200.
It was 150 now.
Only if it's 100 is for existing.
Anyway, we've settled on 200 anyway.
So if you bought the 200 points from Disney, it'd be $41,000. So it's $4,000 less than Riviera. But if you bought that resale,
I think we should make them guess how much they think it might be.
Yeah, so it was $41,000 for Disney direct.
So how much is that per point? Tell me per point.
So
I can't do it overall.
205.
205. Resale. I think 110. Lower. Oh my gosh.
95.
I want to buy this. Let's put it
lower.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
$79 per point.
Wow.
God. 200 points, you're looking at just over $18,500.
Yeah,
and that includes the fees, which includes this year's dues. Which we'll come on to in a minute.
So talk to us about the other restrictions, or let's talk about the other restrictions with resale. So we talked about with the new resorts only being able to stay at those resorts, but what else is there? Restrictions.
You don't get a lovely blue card.
Blue card in your phone wallet. You used to get a lovely blue card.
I've still got mine somewhere.
But you get one on your phone wallet now.
Which means you don't get your dining discounts, you don't get your merchandise discounts, you don't get your discounts on annual passes or event tickets
and
or
tours and things. Yeah.
Tours.
Yeah.
So you don't get in the lounges, the member-only lounges.
You don't get the events like Moonlight Magic.
No Moonlight Magic. You can't use your points for the cruises or for Adventures by Disney or the RCI that's changed to Interval International. Or can you use it from that? I don't think you can use it for that one.
I don't think you can, no.
You can stay at all of the Disney World resorts unless you're one of the newer ones where you're restricted to staying in your own one. So,
which at the moment is only Riviera and
when you think $18,000 for Old Key West, which would finish that was in 2042. So was that 18 years?
So still $1,000 a year, roughly.
What would on Disney's website $1,000 get you? For how many nights would that get you?
It would get you a couple of weeks. It'll get you a week at All Star Music,
if you're lucky.
Wait, That's about £900 the last time we stayed at All Star Sports.
As I say, just bear in mind people might have annual pass, things like that, so you could get discounts. I know that I've paid $810 for 6 nights at Pop. So, you know, I think it depends, and the difference is the quality, the level of hotel you're talking about.
Yeah,
we're talking.
You can't compare value versus deluxe,
right? And that's the discrepancy. I think that the perceived financial value may not be hugely different if you're happy to stay in a value, or even if you're a person like me that likes to be off site. If you're a diehard on site only person and you like a luxury hotel, you like the deluxe, then actually this is a much cheaper way of doing it if you think you're going to keep going back.
Yeah. And
there is an additional perk, actually, I don't think we've mentioned. If you are staying at a deluxe villa, and this is regardless of resale or not, you get the extended evening hours.
I was going to say, that's regardless of whether you're staying DVC or not.
Yeah, that's any deluxe villa.
And you get free parking and all of those things.
Yes. You still get free parking. So it's one of those things, like I said before, I don't think there's a correct answer, resale or direct. I think you have to work it out for you, for your finances, for your family. If you're going to go once a year, you're not worried about getting an annual pass. The annual pass discount is good, but is it $20,000 good? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to spend a lot of money to make the money back on the discounts in the shops and stuff for that. It's definitely one to work out. And there's also the option of, buying some resale and some direct. So the minimum to get all the perks at the minute is 150 with Disney. So buy 150 with Disney, buy another 100 resale. You get all the perks, but you get some discount on the.
Yeah. And the perks apply to all the points.
No, just your contract that it is. So you don't be able to use, say if you wanted to do the cruise, you don't be able to use the direct part of that. So if it's 150, you would use 150 points for the cruise.
Okay, but if you were to stay in Walt Disney World,
you could use the whole lot.
Use the whole lot. Would you get the perks for the first 7 nights and then not for the next?
No, you get it all.
Even if you stay off site,
there you go. Back
you can still use your DVC discount.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're on site.
Yeah.
I thought you'd have 6 days where you get the discount and then 6 days where you don't. But you have your DVC card that shows you're a member.
Yeah. You can be staying at your friend's house down the road and still use your DVC discount when you go to the park. So if you're eligible for the card, that's it. You've got it. You can use it whenever you want. And it's quite handy. In Disneyland, they give discounts everywhere for DVC. Or even the little carts to get a bottle of drink, they give discounts. They're not quite as high as Disney World. Everywhere you can get that discount. So it's what works for you and what works for your family.
And I think that's what we've found with DVC. There are so many different things to it, which makes it complicated. And I think that's the thing, because you're so used to okay, this is how much I pay for staying here. That's what it is. Where with this, when you have to think of this as a long-term thing. If you are going to be that person that is going to go to Disney every year, this might be worth you looking into. If this is your once-in-a-lifetime trip, which we all go through that point of having at least one once-in-a-lifetime trip, you can be coming back every 2-3 years. It still might be worth looking into. But if it's like once every 5 years, once every 10 years, this isn't going to be for you.
Yeah. So do you believe that it's been good value for money? Because obviously, Ben and Becca, you've used your DVC points a lot. And Robin, I know that you and Simon have. Bearing in mind, obviously, from the UK, we're paying extortionate flight prices and park tickets and stuff, for longer periods of time. Do you still believe that DVC has saved you money?
Yes. Especially when I'm staying at a deluxe resort. I'll pick up on our trip last year. We stayed 2 nights at Riviera, 7 nights at Grand Floridian, I think it was, and then 6 nights at Animal Kingdom Lodge on our points. And that whole stay, if we booked through Disney's website, was in the region of about $12,000 to $13,000 if we just went through Disney's website to book it. we didn't spend that amount of money on our first lot of points when we bought in. And the stuff that we've spent, we would have broken even just with that one, maybe 2 stays.
Yeah, I think that was us as well. We kind of worked out how much it would cost to stay. We only ever did one stay in Disney. We stayed 5 nights at the beach club, and we thought it was amazing, but also said, we can't afford to do this all the time. How can we do this cheaper? And then we bought DVC points, because we couldn't afford to stay in deluxe resorts as often as we did and as up as we would like to. So, but obviously, as I say, we bought 10 years ago. Finances, we're in a different place. The world's in a different place. The prices are in a different place. Like,
I guess that's the bit that my brain struggles to compute is, how can I save money? I'm going to spend loads of money on a really expensive DVC contract. That bit doesn't. I know it's a medium term plan rather than a.
It's a spreadsheet.
You're buying your holidays for the next 10 years rather than I'm buying for this year or next year. So you have to project and plan ahead.
But also it's that flexibility I found it's given us in a way that by planning those 2-3 years ahead of what we want to do means that, okay, we can decide, actually, we don't fancy going to Disney World this year. We want to go to Gran Canaria. The money we would have spent on flights to go to Walt Disney World that year, we as covered for that trip to Gran Canaria. But then next year, we've got 340 points instead of 170 that we can then go, we're going to have a 2.5 week stay, or we're going to have a stay in the Grand Floridian for 2 weeks versus the same in Saratoga.
Yeah.
I will point out, we have yet to actually do that.
That's true, but we have the option.
We have the option to do it.
Yeah.
We also have the option to rent out our points and use that money on a trip somewhere else. Not use allocation of points.
Presumably, you could rent out your points to somebody else and then choose to stay off site.
You could do that. Yeah,
you could do if you wanted to.
So yeah, that was going to be a thing to talk about. Is what is renting DVC points? How do we do it? As owners or people who use them, where do you begin? And Claire, do I think I have it in my memory that you have rented points before?
So I have got to the point of, I have rented points, but then our trip got cancelled because of COVID. And actually this is, I think this is one of the things that I have a fear around is renting points. Probably I went directly to the owner rather than through an agent. And there are some DVC rental stores online. Most of them are extremely reputable, but I went through a DVC owner's website and rented directly from that owner. And there was no comeback on that. The fact that the trip got cancelled, I lost my money. And I think that's probably one of the things that gives me anxiety about renting points, because I worry that it's not safe, that my money's at risk. So I'm really keen to hear about whether there is a better way of doing that, because I hear so much about the fact that it's cheaper to rent points. You can stay in a nicer hotel. Ben and I this week we had a conversation about the fact that I am staying at Pop. I love the way I have to say this out loud, otherwise it isn't real. I am staying at Pop in June.
I'm just hearing Old West in the distance.
I'm waiting. I'm staying at Pop because I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for Morgan, because when I come home, he will have the Skyliner that he can travel, and it will make life easy for him. So I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it purely for him.
You know, Caribbean beaches on the Skyliner, right? It sounds beach club.
It says Riviera. No, we'll ignore that. I as I say, I spent very little on the room actually in terms of cost wise for that particular trip, because of the fact that I've got an AP discount. If there was a cheaper way of doing it, I would really love to be able to do that. And certainly we do tend to stay off site. And often we've done like a 1 or 2 night stay on site in the middle of a longer trip, just so it breaks it up a little bit fun, test out some different resorts and just experience different things. And I know that renting points is probably the most sensible option to do that, because people are always trying to get rid of or to rent out, small numbers of points that they've got left over on their contracts and various things. So if there is a safe way to do it where I'm not going to lose my money, I'd love to know about it.
I'd highly recommend using one of the reputable partners. So, David's DVC Rentals or DVC Resale Market. We've had experience of both, but that's also both from both sides of it. So from being an owner of DVC, that we've rented our point out to them. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, COVID, that we had to sort of shift some of our points at that point. And it was like, how do we do this when parks were opening? That we went through David's DVC rental, and there was people that were able to use our points. We got paid a reasonable amount for what we couldn't use, so we were happy with that. But for this year, we've got a 2-night stay at Old Key West that turned out to be about, I don't know, it was $400 for 2 nights in Old Key West, and Pop Century was coming out about the same price. So it was like we decided rent points. So we're currently going through that process now where we've put our deposit down. We've got a couple of months left to pay. And then that room is ours for those 2 nights when we land in September. And the process was really easy. We went online, chose our dates. It showed availability. They sent us a contract through to sign and say, we've got an owner that's matched up with your dates. So the points that they've got ready to, and as soon as we sent the deposit, within about an hour, I got the confirmation to add to my Disney Experience app. Okay. So it's there.
The agent does all the intermediary bit in terms of agreeing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm presuming you pay a fee for that, or does the seller pay the fee for that?
It didn't seem the price we got quoted. I think it must have been included in that.
Yeah, technically the seller pays the fee because you pay, say, $20. I don't know what it is, but the seller gets paid $18. So there's the bit in the middle. I've a bit like Ben and Becca. I've rented out our points and rented points from someone, but I haven't gone through that a rental store. I have done it directly with owners, and as a renter an owner myself, when I rented them out, I rented directly to people. Most owners nowadays have contracts if they're a reputable owner, and I think it's just safer for everyone to have a contract. Then everyone knows where they stand. If this happens, this is how much what the cancellation yada yada is. And I think that stops issues like what you had, Claire, unfortunately. It stops issues like that because it does take a degree of trust on both sides. As an owner, if someone who I rent my points to goes in and trashes the room, that's on me. Just like as a renter, I'm giving someone all of my money and I could rock up and they've cancelled the room and they keep my money. So there is an element of trust and there's an element of uncertainty, which a contract just helps. It also helps if you know someone. So I've rented to people who I know. I've rented from people who I know. And I think that makes life a little bit less anxious. Well, it makes me a little bit less anxious.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, you have to have your wits about you. I was messaged a few months ago by someone. There was someone on a DVC group on Facebook that was using my photo and saying that they had points to rent. And I had to contact Facebook and sort of say they were impersonating me and they were a scam artist trying to get money from people. So if it sounds too good, if they're renting the points too cheap, there's a reason. You have to be a little bit with your wits about you when you rent directly from an owner. So it can be good to go through a rental store so you have that extra level of protection. But if you feel quite savvy and you don't want to pay the middleman fee, there are options out there.
Something what's really useful with the DVC rental stores is both of them have a points calculator. So
see, this is where I get fascinated by all of this calculator.
It is a great way of working
hours looking at those things and just kind of and comparing the different resorts and the different rooms and going
and the different times of the year you go. If I go these dates in September, if I bring my holiday forward a bit, it means that I can get an extra night at the end. And
so I've definitely looked at the points value. I looked at for this summer. we're there for 2 weeks, and I did have a look at how many points would it be to stay in Key West for that amount of time, and all of those things. And I find it fascinating. And then, of course, I go to the DVC resale market, and I'm just like, oh, how much would it cost me for those points? I need 390 points. Oh my goodness, it's extortionate amount of money. I'll stick to my villa, thank you very much. So that's kind of the loop, this cycle that I go in. Yeah. I would say at least 4 or 5 times a year where I go, I'm going to look at DVC points and then, go backwards. And it's like being on a piece of bungee. You sort of get tempted and I'm just about there. And then I'm like, nah, it's fine.
But you know what you can do, Claire? You can just rent a few for the middle, like you say, or even at the beginning or the end and have a few days. You get all the perks of being on site. If you do stay off site, you get to use the nice pools. If you place you're looking at got some nice pools, the Disney transport. So if you stay in Magic Kingdom, you don't have to go to the TTC to go to Magic Kingdom. You can just get on a boat or the monorail, or even walk.
Yeah. Claire doesn't keep it to yourself. I know Claire's trick.
Do you know? I was just thinking though. One thing we haven't covered is home resorts.
Yeah. What does that mean?
What does that mean? And what's the difference? So Ben or Becca, if you want.
So your home resort is basically the resort that you have brought your contract with. It's the place that you own. And you'll be able to book a room at that resort from 11 months. If at 7 months you decide to have a look on the site and see what else is available, you can rent out at one of the other Disney points as well. Disney hotels instead and swap over.
Yeah. So, again, we look at the different home resorts. They cost different. Whether you buy them direct with Disney or if you buy them resale, they cost different. Why choose a particular one? Well, I could buy at Old Key West and it's cheaper to buy there than at Bay Lake Tower. So why would I buy at Bay Lake if I can just use it as 7 months? Well, there's no guarantees at 7 months. If you really like Bay Lake Tower, you need to buy one because you've got that guarantee. At 11 months, at 1 p.m, I think, you go online and you can book your resort. 1 p.m. UK time. It's like 8 a.m. I think US time. You can go on. You book your resort, and then you know that you have your room for 2 weeks or a week or 10 days, whatever you want, and then you can modify it at 7 months and move it to somewhere else. But if Bay Lake Tower is what you like, there's no point buying somewhere else. I think there's
no point like buying at Saratoga if all you want to do is be in the Grand Floridian or be at Riviera, because you're not going to get that availability with some of the resorts. It goes very quickly.
Yeah, especially some of the smaller ones, like the Grand Floridian's quite small. Beach Club, I've managed to get into the Beach Club, I think, twice in the whole
Beach
time.
Club.
And that's for like one night, not for a week. It was for one night. You cannot get there. It's such a small DVC resort and the owners love it. They don't want to stay elsewhere. So
yeah, I've always said if we end up ever buy additional points, it'll probably be our Beach Club so that we can actually stay there.
I may or may not have cut through the Beach Club DVC area on my way into the International Gateway. You can cut through their lobby and around the back of their pool. It's very nice.
It's very nice. Yeah. Definitely done that a few times. So.
Nice loos in that lobby.
Oh, there you go.
But the other thing to think about, actually, when you talk about home resort, is there is a cost we haven't spoken about yet, which is your annual dues, which is your maintenance. So every year,
Ben,
per point.
Before you get to that, can I just ask again the daft question? So when you buy your original block of 150, 200 points or whatever, do you pay that all up front? That's it's.
You can do, a really good point. Or you can finance it.
Right. Okay. And so
you can direct with Disney though.
Okay.
Or you can independently finance if you want to.
Right.
There's a company called Monero Financial, which is international financing through resale timeshare.
Didn't know that. That's really good, Ben. Oh, that's dangerous.
The only thing to think about is the interest rate is higher than what you'd probably get on the average high street bank in the UK. So it might be easier to when we got ours, we financed ours through our bank, and then did the transfer direct to our company we were purchasing it through.
So in my mind, that those numbers that we were talking about earlier, and just taking Old Key West off the top of my head, where we're talking about at the moment it being like $41,000, which probably equates to around about £32,000 or whatever. That would be your payment for the amount of points to actually, and again, it's 50 years worth of holidays, or so many years, however many are left at Old Key West. Right. Okay. So I've got that. So you were about to say, before I interjected, every year you've got additional fee on top. Is that on top of what you've actually paid?
That's on top.
Right.
Yeah.
So annual fees. So it's per, and every resort has a slightly different fee as well. Just because there's some different sizes and more expensive for them to maintain. So whether sometimes you'll notice there's an increase if there's been a hurricane damage and that sort of thing. So there are things like Vero Beach is usually a bit more expensive because it's exposed on the coast.
To buy expensive dunes.
And that's the balance.
Yeah.
There are some resorts, I know when we did our calculations, we did our big spreadsheet to work out what resort we wanted to stay at. Dues played a factor in that because we like to stay at any of the Disney resorts. We hadn't stayed at Saratoga before we bought into Saratoga, but we knew when we looked at where we wanted to stay, where we would be happy to stay, that actually Saratoga worked out the best financially for us because it was one of the cheapest amounts that was on dues at the time. And it's still, I think it still is in the middle of the...
Yeah. Like,
as everything else, it goes up every year.
It does, though it is federally monitored, so they cannot overinflate it. It can only, they have to justify what all the costs are, and sometimes at the end of the year you'll get a credit for last year where it didn't cost as much as they anticipated, and it'll be credited onto your next one.
It's always quite nice when Disney give you some money back.
And they don't actually give it to you back.
No, it's a credit. It's I've overpaid. It's like,
But like,
it's nice to think it though.
I always joke that Animal Kingdom is, of course, more because you're paying for the animals.
Pay for cleaning up after the animals.
Yes.
Well, I get a discount if I volunteer to go and do some.
Poop scooters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, John, going back to your thing, the cost is like you have your initial cost of the timeshare, and then you have your maintenance dues for the remainder of the contract.
And so just now that I'll go back to Old Key West because it seemed to be, for me, it seemed to be the one that was offering quite good value based on what it is. So just for this year, that what is that? Is it
I think it's about $1,200 for the year.
Okay,
I think that's what we pay for Saratoga. I think Old Key West is about the same.
Will be about the same.
What's that?
Might be a little bit more.
I wonder.
Is that the same though? Is that I'm coming out with daft questions now? Is that the same? Would the dues be the same if you bought through Disney or you bought through resale?
Yeah. Yes, they're the same.
Okay,
they're the same amount.
I knew there was a reason why I was hosting this show because actually I've got to say it is.
That's actually a very good question.
It is the minefield that I think Claire, you touched upon it as well. Is when you've stayed off site and you basically you pay up front, you rent a villa for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, however length of time you're going, you kind of write that money off. And actually, in the bigger scheme of things, once you start delving beneath it, if you are going regularly, and you will be going regularly for a long period of time, and I really get the feeling, from certainly from our family's point of view, I get a feeling we've missed a trick here, because if we probably have invested 15 years ago, we probably would be ahead of the game and we'd be able to resell at a profit.
It's a common.
And
Yeah.
We wish we bought in earlier.
Yeah, that's what
And our
everyone
tip-
says.
And we
Yeah.
couldn't have brought in that
Our
much earlier.
tipping point was 2016. We had paid £4,000 to stay 2 weeks at Coronado Springs.
Okay.
And during that time, we had booked it. We had the offer with the $200 gift card,
Free
free
dining.
dining. We thought, okay, this is great. We love this. And then it was like in the back of my mind, in 2014, we did that DVC sort of talk, and we thought, let's just have a look at the numbers that we were shown, because the resort on that day, we were showing Grand Floridian. We looked at the cost per point. We sat down in 2016 and worked this all out and gone, actually, the money, if we're doing this £4,000 every year, our initial contracts that we got only cost us £8,000.
Yeah.
And it was like,
back in
2016, the points that we bought, it was like,
120
this is our gateway into make, because by that point, we'd been in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. We thought, we're going back to Disney next year. We know it's going to happen. And it was like, okay, can we do this any cheaper? Like you said, Robin, you stayed at Beach Club and gone, I'd love to do this.
Yeah.
How could I do this again?
Yeah.
And for us, DVC has worked well.
Yeah. Was for us too.
And it's not going to be for everyone.
No, it's definitely not for everyone. I've got friends who they keep looking at it and they keep doing the numbers and keep coming up with it's just not for them. And they're diehard Disney fans, but it's not for everyone.
I wonder if one of the reasons I've probably stayed away from it, it's not for me, is because of the fact that obviously we're a family of 4. We've got 2 children who are different ages. We need more than just a room with 2 beds in or 1 bed in. So that automatically means you're looking at more expensive room options. So for me, I mean, I've done lots of scoping and working out, 2 weeks in a 1-bedroom villa in Old Key West. So I'm going to need 310 points, 320 points. That's significantly more expensive than 170.
Yeah.
Because, that if you're a couple or your kids are grown up or you've got a baby in a cot and you don't need that extra space or whatever that looks like.
Absolutely.
Then that probably is a much more cost-effective option. For me, we are not in a position to do that, which is, I think, probably if I start really interrogating why we haven't gone down this route, I think that's probably why. Because we've had the option, we've had the ability to do it, but the amount of points that we would need to purchase to get the room that we would need has seemed astronomical, so far removed from what we actually pay currently,
especially when you've got a villa.
Right,
the option of a villa. So
that's a massive discrepancy. Whereas if you're staying on site in a moderate, and that you're going to do that for 2 weeks, and then your DVC points are not going to be that far different, or they're going to save you money based on that. That is a very different conversation. So I think for my own personal circumstances, that's when I start really thinking about it. I think that's probably the reason that it hasn't worked for us. Not to say it won't ever work, but currently that's probably why.
And even once during COVID, I even thought, I wonder, because who knew when the borders are going to reopen? We even looked at because there was a lot of people selling DVC at that point, because we were paying.
That's probably the time to buy.
Yeah, that's
this is the thing. We were like, okay,
we're paying dues on something we couldn't use.
So, and we bought in at $84 per point, and they were selling for $120 per point.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
it's not an investment opportunity. It's just things have moved on. Inflation, things are more expensive, and especially when you go onto Disney's website and look, I want to buy on a stay for 14 nights. You look at the price, and I look at them now, and even if they had free dining, DVC for us has worked out much better.
Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head, Claire. I think if you stay in a studio, which is already bigger than a regular hotel room at any of these resorts, it's better financially viable than if you need a 1-bedroom or bigger. The 1-bedrooms cost more than double of a studio. It's cheaper to have 2 studios than a 1-bedroom. The pluses with a 1-bedroom is you've got a full kitchen, you have a washer and dryer, which is amazing. But means someone's sleeping in that lounge area, or a couple of people are sleeping in that lounge area. Now it's much better Disney are finally putting in Murphy beds, which are the pull down from the wall. When it was just the regular sofa beds, they were good for no one. They were good for 5-year-old kids. Yeah. No one can sleep on those things. They were the
sleeper chair.
The sleeper chair was the best bit, Claire.
Yeah, that's what Morgan used to sleep on when we stayed in Old Keep West. He would choose the sleeper chair.
Sleeper chair was the comfiest one, and the mattress is still only about that.
Waffle thin.
Yeah, at least you didn't have the bars digging in, whereas the sofa beds are not good. So at least I'm pleased they're putting the Murphy beds in, so they're a bit more comfortable. So that is an option. But I think realistically, studios are where it's at. To make it financially viable.
And it's for one of those things is that if it isn't for you, try renting points.
Try renting points, see how it is, or try renting for a few days. Yeah. Like Claire, go and stay for a couple of days when you spend the 2 weeks in a villa or longer in a villa, but just go for a couple of days, stay somewhere, use the facilities, do a late night in Magic Kingdom or wherever it is that day.
It's still an option for this summer, so maybe I'm up there. And Boardwalk does appeal to me actually.
Yeah. Boardwalk is a lovely
view from if you can get a boardwalk view, it's gorgeous.
I love the Boardwalk resort, and it was always because of the scary clown pool. I was always a bit more.
We had pool view at that time.
Oh my goodness!
Thankfully, it was
curtains shut.
Thankfully,
Curtains shut
garden
first day, wasn't it?
Themed resort.
I'm so glad it's gone now. I'm so glad it's
gone.
gone.
That cloud, that hideous cloud, it was brilliant.
We were quite lucky on that trip because we got a view from the garden area. So as you come out of Boardwalk in onto the boardwalk, that little green area underneath
the
nice.
Yeah, with the art shop above the art shop. So that was our view. It was
we had perfect viewing for illuminations.
Yeah.
Illuminations.
If only you liked it.
And we also got to see movies under the stars from our balcony.
That's true.
That's cool. I do want to stay at Boardwalk. I think it's a beautiful resort, and I'm learning to love it more and more every time I go through it. And I tend to.
It is the location, though, Claire.
If I'm getting an Uber somewhere, it's Trattoria Alforno. I'm looking at you for breakfast.
Wow, Claire,
just gone through a full refurb.
Visit our room when we're there in April.
Sounds like great. I'm there.
That's fabulous.
So sadly, it's not a boardwalk view. I think it's a standard view.
But it's such a Crescent Lake is a win always, and those rooms are more available than beach clubs. So maybe we'll do that in the summer. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
For a couple of nights. And it's
we stayed at Boardwalk by accident. It wasn't our plan
to stay. Turn.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the list of resorts we had planned to stay at.
I wanted to stay at Copper Creek, and it wasn't available at 7 months. So I was like, oh, what's left? Let's try Boardwalk. I was like, I'm not sure on it.
So
loved it.
That's something I want to ask you about. Because obviously you mentioned your trip last year where you stayed at 3 different resorts. And I'm aware that you have stayed in multiple resorts in the same trip because you're using points and it's about what's available. Is that not just really annoying? Having to repack your stuff every 2 or 3 days.
We had one trip where it was annoying, but that was because we had to do it 2 weeks before. And this was when in 2020 where the border date had moved and we had lost lots of our reservations because of the we had to go what was available when when we moved our flights. So we had to stay in 5 different resorts.
Yeah, I think that's the trip I'm thinking of in November.
We then,
and it was like,
luckily, we managed to sort it all out in the end, or at least we knocked one of them off because we were able to. When we checked into Copper Creek, we said we're here for 2 nights. That we're down in 2 separate rooms,
one bedroom and one studio,
and they were able to put us both in the same night.
Studio for one night was like we'll happily lose the extra points.
See, that's the bit that I don't think
we didn't lose the points.
We didn't, but we would have happily done so.
In terms of your choice, and you're going to end up bouncing between resorts.
You're not.
It is a choice.
Mad.
When we do that on our trips, it is a choice.
Okay, I thought that was just because that's what was available.
No, so we could.
In 2020,
2022, it was short notice, and we didn't have a choice. But last year, for example, when we did the 3, it was by choice.
Yeah.
We So this year we are staying 6 nights in Saratoga Springs. We've stayed 10 nights at Saratoga before. Ideally, personally, I like to stay at least 7 nights. At least 5-6 nights in a hotel, preferably 7, and then only move once.
Yeah, I'm with you. I quite
And
like
also, it's nice to break up the trip, having like 7 and 7. Two different resorts. Yeah.
Or sometimes I quite like doing 10 nights and then 4 nights at like an expensive
bougie place.
Like a bougie place. And then I get a few nights at the end.
Just a couple nights of grand at the end.
This is why the 11 months. You buy somewhere you love, then you book it at 11 months. You can just book your whole stay there. It's fine. You don't have to change around. But I went to Florida with a friend in February. I was meant to go on my own. And I had a studio booked. My friend is also a DVC member. And I said to her, would she like to come? Long story short, she needs a 1-bedroom for a walk-in shower. So she said, well, what about if I put some of my points towards it and we swap to a 1-bedroom? And I said, yeah, it's great. We booked it in December and January and we went in February and we had the whole stay in Saratoga Springs in a 1-bedroom. So Saratoga Springs is one of the biggest resorts. So you're most likely to be able to get in there at short notice for a longer stay. We were also, I was on the website multiple times a day just stalking it to see if that was perseverance on my part. That was perseverance that got it. However, it was me that got it. And we stayed in the same room the whole trip. Well, until we extended it, but that's another story. But yeah, we stayed in the same room. So you don't have to move around. If you're short on points and you need a cheap room, you might have to move around, but we had enough between the two of us to have a 1-bedroom. So 1-bedrooms are easier to get as well because they cost more. So you don't have to move around if you don't want to. Saying that, Simon and I in April, our first 2 nights, even though we own at Boardwalk, I didn't book at 11 months because we didn't know what we were doing. I did book with it before 7 months though, and I could only get from the Saturday onwards. So we go on a Thursday and we have Thursday and Friday in Copper Creek before we go to Boardwalk. I have been looking. I set up a wait list. Nothing's come in. I think because they're still going through refurbishment, they haven't been fulfilling wait lists. The refurbishment's gone over, and so some people have been moved to different resorts. So I think they haven't been fulfilling wait lists. So I have been looking, but nothing's come up. So we'll be in Copper Creek for 2 nights before we go to Boardwalk.
Can I ask another question? Just again, because it actually comes from it comes from one of our listeners, and I actually quite like this because they've been so good for this show and actually putting forward questions. So this actually I think is a really good one. So putting aside the resorts, right? What have you found has been the best perks of being a DVC member?
Partner resorts.
Yeah.
The extra evening hours at Magic Kingdom and Epcot that they now do. It's I think it's 2 hours at each park.
Yeah, it's only 2 hours. But
it's only for deluxe guests, people staying at the deluxe resorts or DVC villas. It is so quiet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
For me, I really love the Moonlight Magic events. So all the things that I'm going to name that are things that I love, unfortunately, are things that you have to have this blue card for. So you have to have at least 150 points direct. I love the Moonlight Magic events. I like characters. They always have unique, unheard, like never seen characters at. So I love that. I actually really love Top of the World Lounge, going up for a drink and watching the fireworks, which is top of Bay Lake Tower. Anyone that's a blue card member can go up, staying in Disney. So you go up and they pipe the music in. It's a bit like California Grill, except you don't have to buy food. They do have small plates up there if you want to buy, but you don't have to.
Pretzel's really nice.
The pretzel's very nice. Yeah. And the 7 layers.
Do
You can.
Yes, you can.
You can take
You
it.
can take a guess.
They do really nice cocktails, Claire.
I see what you're doing there, Claire. That's it.
You don't need to be a DVC member. You just need to be friends with someone
Somebody
who is a
who
DVC member.
The other one is I love the lounge in Epcot, the DVC lounge, and it's a proper member services. So when obviously my friend and I booked basically all of our trip, and I'd rinsed through all of our points. So while we were there, we did a points transfer. She transferred some of hers to me. And we could do that there. They can help you with member services, which is really cool. And there's free drinks and stuff. I mean, it's
The
nice.
biggest thing about that lounge, it's the air conditioning that you don't have to go to the American Adventure. So you don't have to sit through that for Impressions de France for 20 minutes. So
you can just sit up there with a nice freestyle miniature Coke cup and a little snack. So yeah, they're all things. And no, I don't think it's the best one, but the discounted annual passes, they're definitely worth it. I do appreciate those.
I think it's the discounts you get. I think, and it's being direct. We've been used to having that, and it's difficult because there's so many good things about the resorts that I think it's difficult to think about other things. But because a lot of the other stuff you can get in different ways, from like if you've got an annual pass, you can get the food, you can get the merchandise discounts. But yeah, discounted annual pass is useful. Because it's the same price as a Florida resident annual pass.
Yeah, but the most expensive Florida resident, you can only buy that one. You can't buy the cheaper ones, sadly.
Yeah. And you can't do it monthly either.
I know, I'm kind of gutted. I'd love to be able to do it monthly. It wouldn't feel so painful then.
I don't know, I'm going to talk about the dark place here, but Universal let you do a monthly annual pass.
See,
even you're out of state, where Disney don't. You have to be a Florida resident to do it monthly.
Damn. Yeah. I was just looking through our questions, John, and there was a question I don't think we've covered. Is how do you buy resale from the UK? And we have bought resale from the UK. Have you, Ben and Becca? Have you bought resale?
Yeah. Our first one was.
It is a little bit more difficult. You do have to find a legal person to witness things, but it can be done. It definitely can be done. Don't let it put you off because you're in the UK. It can be done. It's not that hard.
It's a lot easier now than I think, especially with technology and how things happen now.
Absolutely.
Back in 2016, we used DVC Resale Market.
Yeah.
And they assigned us a legal person to sort of like send us all the information. We went through it all. We paid our deposit. We did the finance. We sorted that all out. And it was really easy. It literally, the most difficult thing when you buy resale is knowing whether Disney are going to buy back those points, because when you buy, Disney might choose, they have the right of first refusal. So you put the offer in, the seller's accepted, but Disney has the next thing, like, we might not let you sell it at that price. We want to buy it back. So then you don't get a chance to buy it. But luckily, we found out that it all went through for us on the day we were flying out to Florida.
Oh,
so
how nice!
It was like,
wow.
Yeah, we're at the Gatwick Airport. Got loads of notifications on my phone. I thought, what's this? And it was like all the forms to fill in because Disney is you can buy it.
Oh, that's so nice.
It's one of them moments for it is written, isn't it, Ben? Like, yeah. Probably.
Our first one was resale. We've got a couple. I forget. We've got 2 resale. Certainly, our first one was resale, and Disney they have 30 days to decide if they want to buy it, and Disney usually take those 30 days because they can. I don't blame them. They don't want to make it easy for anyone because then they want to keep the people buying direct, which I understand. But we got our right of first refusal waiver within 2 days. And at first I was shocked because I was thinking, what is this? It hasn't been 30 days. This can't be right. But yes, ours came quite quickly. I think we actually bought from someone we loosely knew that we came to know quite well. So I think it made life a little bit easier for us. They were also in the UK. We knew each other, so we could message each other and not have to worry too much. We didn't go through a broker, which made things a bit more difficult. But it meant that no one paid any broker's fees. So the next one we did go through a broker, so it was a lot easier. I remember the first one was quite difficult, finding all the right people to do the right things from another country, where both people are from another country. So I think that might have been why Disney just went, yeah, we don't want part of this.
I'm not sure why they still insisted on now, but I think it's just how the United States do it. But they do everything by fax.
Yeah, that
still. So, back in 2016, I had to download an app on my phone that would send something by fax. So it was like we fed out all the information, scanned it all in, and had to put an app on my phone to send it.
That's amazing
to them because they just do it by fax.
Goodness, I've just had a Ted Lasso moment in the middle of one of our shows. It was just like, it's that whole moment where his divorce papers come through and he has to fax them back, and he's trying to find out places in Liverpool that you can go and send the fax, and there isn't any.
I watched that episode just the other
day. But and again, Ben, culturally, I think that's one thing that we just need to be mindful of, is the fact that, irrespective of, we do it different in the UK, actually, you have to do it totally by the book from a US perspective. And, in order, again, to keep it legal, keep it binding, and make sure that you're actually going to the nth degree to make sure that everything that you do ties it all up.
But I only realised the other day, actually, when we rented our points for Arkham State Old Key West, it's through the same company, the same parent company. So DVC Resale Market is also the same as DVC Rental Store that we've rented through. Right. So, and I have to admit, it was nice to have when we did it. It was like we knew we had the money there, ready to go and buy it. It was like, okay, we went through it, we did it online. It was so simple and so easy to do. The scary bit was doing the money transfer.
Yeah.
The paying for it. It's always scary. Always scary. Yeah. That's the bit I don't like. It doesn't matter what it is. It's a bit of hate. I'm going to ask the three, because actually, what's been really fascinating, I think Claire and I are still sort of plugging numbers into the spreadsheet just to see if it actually does work. And actually, there isn't, I think, like we said, there's no right or wrong to this. But I think for the three of you, and this is where this has fascinated me for the entire chat about this, is you've absolutely loved the actual investment, and you've made, I know for a fact that you've made such great use of just going out to Walt Disney World, making use of your points, etc. Is there anything that you would do differently if you were buying now?
Buy more points.
Buy more. You go.
I think it's one of those things. I think it's working out because we didn't, when we bought, we weren't sure how long the stays we wanted out there, whether we were going to go for a week, 2 weeks, how many, and at what resorts. So instead of just looking at our home resort and going, I can have 2 weeks at Saratoga Springs, but actually if I want to stay 2 weeks at Riviera, that's going to cost more. So probably what we would have done was probably bought a few more points to begin with.
Still time. You still buy more.
But yeah, so it's one of those things. That would have been the thing back then. Obviously, they were cheaper points back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I don't think there's anything else I would.
No. Just, have a few more just so that there's a bit more. I mean, we're flexible enough as it is, but to have that a little bit more flexibility. I mean, we can get, I think we average about
10 to 12 nights.
10 to 12 nights at, I don't even know where. My brain's gone blank.
Yeah, normally about 10 to 12 nights at Copper Creek every year.
Yeah, Copper Creek. That's kind of a middle points resort.
For us, if I wasn't a DVC owner right now, I don't know if I would buy. And that's going to sound so strange after this whole conversation.
I never expected to hear that.
So we bought at a good time. We bought at good rates. And don't get me wrong, we added on last year. So we bought a new contract at Disneyland Hotel last year. But 60 points at the Disneyland contract cost us the same as 10 years ago buying 125 at the Grand Floridian, which cost us the same amount as buying 320 at Animal Kingdom Lodge resale. So if you think of it, 10 years ago, we bought 320 points resale for the same price as buying 60.
And by those numbers, I would not be buying direct.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And that is my big thing out of all of it. The perks are great. You can add on at a later point, but are they worth it? When you look back at that old Key West pricing, it was like over double the price to have those perks. And an annual pass, great. Yeah. Okay. If you want an annual pass, get an annual pass at a regular rate. You don't have to get the DVC discounted one. Yeah. And then you don't get the blackout dates of Easter and Christmas.
I think Easter's been taken off now, actually. It's Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yeah. Thanksgiving, it changed because it caught us out last year. We went Black Friday weekend and we couldn't use it that weekend. So I know I've just spent an hour and a half telling you how much I love my DVC, which I do. I really love it. If I was buying now, if I was buying right now, if I was me, because I'm frugal. I'm like you, John. I'm looking after my home. There's nothing wrong with it. I really don't think I could entertain 150 points direct to get the perks. Although all the things that I listed that I love about my DVC, all of the things I listed are for direct members only. However, if I was starting out now, I think I'd buy resale, and plan to spend some time in Disney, some time off site. That's how I would plan my trips. Do I regret any second of it? Absolutely not. And I'm not looking to sell my contracts. I'm constantly rinsing them. I have been all over the world. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to the Grand California. We own at Vero Beach. We stay at Vero Beach. Yeah. It's wonderful. But would I be buying a load of direct points now? No, I wouldn't. So yeah, that's surprise answer.
I love it when we get towards the end of a show and there's a lovely mic drop moment and you're thinking, oh my word, I just wasn't expecting it. And actually, I was hoping by the end of the show I would have been persuaded to go in August and to go and see that guy at the sales desk.
Do that, John.
Do that anyway.
Go to Monsters Inc.
Go and be that guy. Take me free fast pass or whatever. I can get freebies off them and the gift card and all that.
I think they're giving away money. They're giving away money.
That's even better. But
we were there with some friends a few years ago, and they were doing 3-hour tours at least $100 gift card.
Yeah, I think it was 150. I went with a friend. And we asked, and it was. I think she did it, and I just went along with her, and they gave us $150, or gave her $150.
Okay, that's maybe worth thinking about.
But that was last year. So
I could play sacrificial lamb. It's just give up 3 hours of my life. Or maybe not. Or maybe not.
Do you know what? I don't remember it being 3 hours.
I don't think it was 3 hours for us. Yeah. Maybe 3 hours from the time they pick you up to the time they drop you back. Maybe
transportation as well, won't it?
Yeah.
I've got to say, it's.
Well, they do pick you up and drop you off wherever because they dropped us off at our off-site hotel.
Oh, good. Hey, there you go.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah. I could save on.
Well, they did back in 2014 anyway.
I could save on parking. There we go.
That's wicked. That's $30 in the bank.
That's one thing you know, John. If you stay on site with DVC points, you don't have to pay car parking.
No, exactly. I know that.
You have to spend a lot of days parking to make that cost back.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me is after all that conversation and Robin, what you just said about would you buy now?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I love about having these conversations, and I love about us at blowing our own trumpet a little bit here at Great British Mickey Waffle. We keep it real. We are honest with you. We are not sponsored by anyone. We're not being paid to say anything good, bad, or otherwise. It's just our views and our opinions. So we will always be honest with you. Everything we talk about, we have paid for ourselves. So if we're reviewing something, that's our own hard-earned cash that we have spent.
Absolutely.
We're not being gifted anything. We're not being, we're not on that short list of Disney people and Disney podcasters who are.
We're not that special.
We're not that special. So our opinions are really true opinions, and I really value that. And I think that hopefully our listeners do as well. They recognise that this is the truth. This is our experience and our opinions, and I think that's really valuable because sometimes you can hear some amazing stories, but there's an undercurrent of sometimes people have been gifted things and they feel they have to say nice things. We don't have to say anything nice at all, and quite often we don't. What we will
I just love how open we are that we've had so many questions about DVC, and if anyone else has got any more, feel free to add them to the bottom. Let us know, because
in the comments.
Nothing's off the table. We're happy to discuss anything you want us to talk about. But I just wanted to say that I think I really value the fact that everyone's truthful and honest about their views. It feels genuine.
I really appreciate. Claire, I think that is so important because I think we sometimes miss that in the fact that we're not sponsored. We're not doing this for any other reason, but the fact
we're not making any money out of this, people. This is us in our front rooms,
and we will. But we pay for stuff ourselves. But we share a passion for Disney, and for right or wrong, and if they are wrong, we will call them on it. And also, if we've had bad experiences, we'll share that with everyone. It's not all that sort of glossy stuff that certain people, influencers. I don't think they're called influencers. I tell you what, they don't.
Is that what they're called?
They don't influence me one iota, I must admit. So it's I think it's quite an important thing to actually bear in mind. And I think that's a really great point, Claire. And I think from all of this, I've got a calculator out. I've got a letter to the bank managers to write. I've got all kinds of other. I've still got that whole thing in my head where I actually do. I still go and book a villa because actually, from my perspective, in the short term, that's actually that's more appealing than some of the things that you've discussed today. I still don't know, and that's the joy of this. It has to work for you. It has to work for your own personal experiences. It has to work for your own circumstances, and that to me is such an important thing. And I think probably that's a good way in which we finished the 1st of April show, not with a joke. And I think that's the best thing about this whole show. Everything we spoke has been the truth, and I think for you guys, I really appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you sharing your own journeys, because actually, the way you've actually told us about it has been really quite heartfelt, and it really opens everyone's mind to what is actually available.
It was scary, I have to admit, thinking like I'm going to spend this amount of money on holidays.
Scary, I tell you,
but it was one of those things. But it was the best thing we ever did. Especially when after 2020, and then you looked at how much it was to stay in a room, and I was like, okay, and now I know why.
I'm so glad I have that covered,
and that we can set these resorts that actually are a bucket list item.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can I just point people in the direction of our website? Because if you go to www.gbmickeywaffle.com, you can not only can you find all our previous shows, but you can actually find out loads and loads of ways. Not only you can support us, but actually you can actually see a little bit more about what we all stand for. And I think that's, share it with your mates. Tell them, come and listen to us, because actually we just do this every month on month, and we enjoy doing it. We're also on all socials at GB Mickey Waffle. And I think Ben, you mentioned it before about the Waffler's Arms, which is our lovely, friendly Facebook community, from where we got loads of the questions for this show as well. And we just appreciate everyone who interacts with us and becomes part of this community. I think that's a bit that we get a real pulse out of, and we always do every Wednesday. Just say again on YouTube, but I really appreciate what you guys have opened up and actually shared with us. Some of the numbers, in some ways, are quite eye-watering, but
terrifying.
Yeah, but it takes away, and I think I said at the very beginning of the show, I wanted us to try and demystify this bit about DVC, and I think we've gone some way to demystifying it. I don't think anybody actually can totally do it until you buy and you're into that realms of actually having your points in your back pocket and choosing where you want to go on your next magical trip. And I actually think that's been the most amazing thing. So appreciate it. Claire and I are off to a villa, and just to lie by a pool. That's fine. Just lie by the pool and just sort of think, oh my word. Yeah, it's just like that's
what you do once you pay for it, John. That's what happens. It's like, you buy. You have to buy first, and then fly out to Florida, and then spend 2 weeks by the pool.
Absolutely.
It's like, what did I just do?
Recovery.
Yeah,
exactly. Until the mid-month show, there's only one thing left to say, and it's not, dear Mr. Bank Manager, I must admit. We'll see you real soon.